Welcome, everybody. Oh, I'm not even on. There we go. Welcome, everybody. And Mr. Snyder, if we could please have roll call.
Mr. Finaro.
Here.
Ms. Grosek.
Here.
Mr. Hess.
Here.
Mr. Hughes.
Here.
Mr. Tressi.
Here.
And this evening, we have a special guest, Margaret Corwin. Margaret, if you would help us with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Stay right there, Maggie. So this is Maggie. Say hi to Maggie.
Hi, Maggie.
Maggie, these are all of your fans, right? Am I right about that? Okay, good. Well, especially over there, right? So we're here with a very special young woman, and her mom is here also this evening. Say hi to Mrs. Corwin.
Hello.
Hi. And Maggie is a very special young woman, and we have our proclamation for her tonight because she is Student of the Month at Excel Tech. So Maggie, I'm going to read all kinds of nice things about you. Don't blush. They're all well-deserved, okay?
You can blush. It's okay.
The Mayfield City School District and the Mayfield Board of Education present this proclamation to you, Maggie Corwin, Student of the Month from Excel Tech. Whereas Maggie is a senior in a licensed practical nursing program through Excel Tech, and whereas, there's a lot of whereases in this, whereas Maggie displays many qualities of an outstanding student. Her instructors say that she arrives to school on time every day with a smile on her face and a sense of calmness. That's always a good thing. Maggie earns all A's in the classroom and in the clinical setting. That's impressive. Whereas Maggie is a joy to teach. She is a mature young lady who is always appropriate with her classmates, clients, and instructors. Maggie has built a strong rapport with all of the students in the classroom and often helps others with their studies. Whereas Maggie is a very compassionate student who will further her LPN career when she attends Lakeland College. She plans to receive her BSN through the partnership with Ursuline College. Maggie plans on fulfilling her dream to become a psychiatric nurse practitioner. Do I have that right?
Oh, wow.
So she can help and care for patients with dementia. Very special calling. Whereas now, therefore, be it resolved, Maggie, on behalf of all the members of the Mayfield school community, Maggie, you are named the Mayfield Board of Education Student of the Month for Excel Tech on this day, April 24th, 2019. Congratulations. We're very proud of you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Here you go.
Yeah, you get to turn it around for pictures.
We're going to do pictures. Just move up just a little bit.
There we go. So we can kind of scooch behind you a bit.
That's it, right? That's it. No more honors. And Mom, you want to get in there?
I got a few, that's fine.
No, I know.
We want to put you in.
Yeah, I like pictures. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, the teacher's a good idea too. You guys want to come up too?
Yeah.
Right after this, we'll get one with just them, and then we'll bring you up. Okay.
What's that teacher's name? Okay, go. Sent? Is that his name? Not Schmidt.
Yeah.
No.
We're very informal.
S-E-I-N.
I think that's right.
Gave her a scholarship last night. That's how great she is.
Okay, another round of applause for Maggie.
Right on down the line.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, honey.
Congratulations, Maggie, and good luck,
Sir.
to you.
Congratulations.
All right, that moves us directly to the Excel Tech presentation.
if you want to, it's up to you. Actually, hey, Nate. Put this inside. Yeah. Do that first.
Check.
Drop that right there.
Okay.
Should be good.
All right. Beautiful. Are you? I can do it. Yeah. Or is it up there? All right. All right. Good evening, everyone. My name's Nate Bishko. I'm the director of XL Tech. First, want to thank the board, superintendent, treasurer for inviting me to the board meeting to present. Always an enjoyable time when I can talk about some of the great things that are going on at XL Tech. So, with that said, there we go. Just always like to remind everyone of the magnificent 10 districts that we have. Our footprint for XL Tech, for those that don't know, we go as far north as Willoughby Eastlake Schools, we go as far east as West Geauga, and we go as far south as Aurora City Schools down in Portage County. So our footprint is pretty well spread out across Northeast Ohio, and we're just very proud of that. Within these 10, 7 of these districts actually host programs, with Solon, Richmond Heights, and West G being the only 3 that do not host at this time. So what I thought before I presented is, I was trying to brainstorm some of the things that I could present to the board. And I thought we'd take a trip back to the future. And so, come on, there we go. And so, this is really loud. Let me turn that down a little bit. So, the reason I thought of this is that back in 2012, there was a hotshot young administrator who was in his second year, really good-looking young administrator, who got paired up with this older doctor who came to the district, okay? And
I got hair.
They formed what was a pretty good team. Now, you got to remember, back in 2012, Google Glasses were just invented. We were on iPhone 5, iPad 4. There was only one championship in the city of Cleveland, and the Browns really sucked back then. Excuse my language. And now they're really good. So those are just some of the weird changes that have happened over the course of these last 7 years. So just to go through some quick things, in 2012, we consisted of 9 high schools. We had 19 programs. We had 785 students. Today, we're at 11 high schools, 23 career tech programs, and over 1,000 students. Part of that is in 2015, we had Willoughby Eastlake join. With them, they brought several programs, several opportunities for students, and obviously more students, which has helped us grow. Just some more quick data to compare from where we were at in 2012 to where we're at now. You can see our students, these are the 2 graduating classes between 2012 and 2018, 884 credits versus 2,119 earned. We had 112,000 in tuition saved versus over $250,000 now, and on in terms of just the big, vast differences in where we've come in the last 7 years through this amazing partnership between the doc and the young guy there. So, like Bob Dylan says, times are changing, and since 2012, we've had a total of 21 programmatic changes. Now, I forgot my notes where I actually listed all 21 programmatic changes, but I'm going to try to just fire through some of them. We have had things like our CAD program was at Lakeland. We brought that back into, and mind you, the CAD program, which Craig Schmidt is here today, was held in a little classroom at Lakeland. They had one 3D printer, I think. Now we moved it back to Mayfield, fabrication lab, unbelievable. Same thing with our med tech. It was at Mayfield, moved over to the Innovation Center. Our CBI program has gone from Tri-C East to Mayfield over to CVEC now. We've had Willoughby Eastlake come in, which just totally restructured everything from transportation to some program times. And without my notes, I could go on. If I had the notes, I would have listed all of them. But my point with that is that through all the changes, I've never been around a staff who is more adaptable, who is more flexible, and who is about just kids. And through all of that, we've continued to just produce quality career tech programming. And I always like to say we're the best consortium in the state of Ohio, hands down, in terms of what we deliver for our students. One of the phrases I like to use when I'm arguing with buddies when we're talking about sports is, what's your data? You got data on that? Because without data, it's just an opinion. So here's some data from our graduating class last year, 98% post-secondary placement rate. I'm always proud to tout this number because that signifies that out of our almost 500 graduates last year, 98% of them are either doing one of three things. They're going to college, they're employed, or they're in the military. So that's a pretty high success rate. We had 75 inductees into the NTHS last year, and just yesterday we had an amazing ceremony where we inducted 90 new students into NTHS. What do you need for NTHS? You need a 3.5 cumulative GPA, and you need a 4.0 in your program. So that says a lot about our students. This is another one that we're really proud of, 90.3 technical skill attainment. Not that I'm a big fan of testing, but just like any other facet in education, Career Tech is responsible for end-of-course exams, and we come in at an A with the state when it comes to our end-of-course assessments. That signifies that our teachers are getting it done, they're delivering content, and our kids are mastering the content within their specific pathways. You saw the 2,100 college credits, tuition saved. What this number doesn't reflect is that that's only credits earned through Lakeland and Tri-C. So there's a program, a statewide articulation called CT2, Career Technical Credit Transfer. Those credits are transferable to any 2- and 4-year public college in the state of Ohio. There's no data mechanism that tracks that from Ohio Higher Department of Education, but I can tell you I sent in approximately 150 documents last year to various colleges throughout the state and the country. Again, those numbers, we can't quantify them, but this can only go up. It can't go down. $12 million in scholarship money saved last year, or earned by our students last year, and that number continues to rise. We're very proud of that. And one of the things that we're really excited about is that, and this is, I'm just going to give you guys a few handouts here for homework, but we had over 1,500 applications, and we are bringing in our largest class of juniors ever in the history of Excel Tech. We're bringing in 584 students. Again, if I go back to 2011-12 when we first started, I think our graduating class was around 320. So we're getting up into areas where we're almost doubling the amount of students that we had in 2011 and 12. The document you have is one of my favorite documents because it just really disaggregates the data and paints the picture of every program, every application, and every home school. So you kind of see where our students are applying from and where they're coming from. Credit earned, money saved. So this is data from the last 4 years. Lakeland's at top and Tri-C is at the bottom. And not to belabor the point, but you can see this column right here is it's very important to me since I actually have a student in a career tech program. My daughter's in our med tech program, and she goes to Brush. So when I see credits earned and tuition saved, obviously that's very significant to me. And one of the things I'll sidebar real quick with the board is, and I've said this before to our advisory council and pretty much anybody who listens, this isn't something that we just kind of preach about when it comes to career tech. Because as I sit back here and I see, again, Craig Schmidt's in our crowd, his daughter is in our TEACH program, okay? Ron Succi, who teaches ITP, his son is in, actually, Mr. Schmidt's CAD program. I have a daughter in the program. So these aren't things we're just, standing on the mountaintop and shouting about. We actually believe in career tech and just the amount of experiences that our kids get when they get into a program. So I used to be able to list our tech prep credits on one slide, and I'm just going to hold one here, Mr. Snyder, so if you could just, maybe you skip and I'll give you one. Yeah, they're more important. Actually, they're not because you signed the check, so you're the most important. But what this graph represents is all the college credit opportunities our kids have. Again, when you add all this stuff up, okay, there's 88 agreements, 964 total college credits. So the two columns on the left are obviously our partnerships with Tri-C and Lakeland. And then recently, within the last 3 years, we've garnered agreements with University of Akron and Kent State University. The difference is that you have to attend those universities to earn those credits. And then on the far right is what I referred to earlier as CT2. And those are credits, a very important column on the far right, because all of those credits are transferable to any 2- and 4-year public college in the state of Ohio. So when we sit in front of parents and we say, you know, what are the benefits, and I say it all the time, it's not vocational education. It's not what career tech programming was when I was in school and when most of the people in this room were in school. I'm going to give a shout out, and I know she's getting recognized later, but Ms. Zajac in the back, who will be joining our team at Mayfield, she's an Excel Tech graduate through our marketing program. So proof in the pudding right there, coming back home to join the team. But again, it's a very powerful marketing tool that we use with parents. And I won't even say marketing tool. It's a reality that when students go into programs, they have the opportunity to earn significant college credits towards graduation. So within the state of Ohio, there's 19 approved pathways that you can have career tech programs in. And so within these 19 pathways, we have programs in 15 of them. The only ones we don't have programs in are family and consumer sciences, which is just kind of, it's almost fading away. Finance, the only program that I can think of in finance is there are some CTPDs that have accounting. We have nothing in government and public administration and nothing in job training coordination, which that program dissolved last year. We had a job training program, but that was for students only on IEPs. So when you look at the pathways, I think we're doing pretty darn well in terms of the programs we have available. With that said, though, we're always looking at program consideration. And I know this is a very, very hot topic with Dr. Kelly. Sometimes people say, hey, let's start a program. Okay, well, we have to know what you need when you start a program. And so obviously location is very important. You want to know what school or facility is going to host, because that's a big step. 2 different documents there that I'm going to talk about in a second. Startup cost. How much money in capital improvements, equipment? So if we're starting, let's say, an ITP program, okay, you need some classroom furniture, you need 25 computers, and you need software. So you're looking at anywhere from, maybe $40,000 to $50,000 in startup, as opposed to, let's say, a welding program, to which, and I see our folks from Willoughby Eastlake, they're going, oh my God. To start a welding program, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Elsing, you're probably looking anywhere north of $250,000, or Mr. Nedlick, yeah. I see she looked at. So that obviously, we had one district that wanted to explore starting an aviation program, and then they started realizing the costs that were involved. They realized that we adhere to a guaranteed slots where you can't populate a program with all the kids from your home school. So there's a lot of things that go into when you're starting a program from scratch. The paperwork I gave the board talks about, and we look at this, local employment projections, trends, and student interest. I can tell you right now that from our advisory council last week that we had, one of the hottest needs and wants from our consortium is veterinary technology, or vet tech program. When you look at those documents, you will see that nationally, and I gave Dr. Kelly a quiz yesterday when we were at NTHS, and I would have given you guys the same thing. I'd give you 50 guesses. I give everybody 50 guesses on the two most, in terms of growth percentage nationally, according to U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the two fastest growing jobs in the country in the next 10 years. Number one, solar panel installers, growing at a rate of somewhere around 20%, whatever it says on there.
105.
And then second is wind turbine installers. So when you think about, I mean, I don't see us starting a wind turbine or a solar panel installation program. However, green energy is a hot commodity right now. But the problem is the state has to catch up with that and create a pathway so that we can have courses and we can follow what the state gives us. What I will say is, in terms of those two documents I gave you, the National the Bureau of National Labor Statistics, after you get past those first two, I believe around the next 3 or 4, all are in the medical arena. And then there was another document that shows just what's pertinent to Northeast Ohio. And you will see that literally the first 6 jobs listed on there in terms of growth all deal in the medical arena. So when you think about Excel Tech, and we tell this to parents all the time, if you have a son or a daughter who is interested in any field or any program in the medical arena, we have a program. I mean, we have allied health, we have medical assisting, we have LPN, we have medical technologies, and we just started last year exercise science. So if your son or daughter wants a job in the medical field, get them into one of our Excel Tech programs, and we can virtually guarantee employment. I tell my daughter, who's a freshman at Ohio State right now, she's going into nursing. And I said, honey, once you get that nursing degree, you can literally lay out a map, you can take a thumbtack, stick it on the map where you want to live, and you'll have a job. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it when it comes to the medical field. So, and the last thing we look at is sustainability, and will it deter enrollment? You know, that's something we got to be cautious about in terms of our programs, and is that going to pull enrollment from another program? Any questions on any of the data I've given you? I know I'm rifling through some stuff. I'm making Kate Rotino proud in the back. It's my job. So I'll conclude with this, and I always say it, always say it. If you want to experience the greatness in our Excel Tech programs, you have to come to an event, okay? May 3rd, which is next Friday, you need vegetables, you need ornamentals, you need perennials, you need annuals. Come out to our environmental ed. They'll be open from 8 in the morning to 6 p.m. Anybody with a green thumb, get out there. You won't find a better quality selection of items in addition to very personal service by our students, our student ambassadors. May 10th, we're going to have our construction trades open house. They partner with CAD. They partner with a number of programs. Anybody who's ever been to it, it'll blow you away. Again, our CAD students take the time to design all the blueprints. Most of the board members have been. You've seen kind of how awesome that event is, and just the pride that our students exhibit when they take their grandpa or grandma or mom or dad through those houses and they go, hey, look at, you see that tile? I did all that. I did this bathroom tile. So if you're looking for a great event, May 10th down in Willoughby, our construction trades open house. Our senior send-off will be a lunch at Landerhaven on May 14th. And then if you're hungry, May 16th, and I would advise you to contact the Beachwood Bistro soon to get a reservation. We have our annual grand buffet. Some of the items on the menu this year will be a prime rib carving station, lobster mac and cheese, and all the desserts you can imagine. So we're not just, setting up a buffet with chicken fingers and fries. As always, follow us on Twitter on XL Tech. And I would encourage you to get to an event at some point. And at the end of the day, we're about greatness. This was a picture that I took yesterday. Again, this is part of, I couldn't even fit them all in the camera, but again, we had 90 students at the NTHS ceremony yesterday, which was just to hear some of the student bios, because when we do the NTHS ceremony, you got to have 4 sentences, what school you're going to, your plans, one of your best accomplishments in high schools. But to hear some of the bios from our kids, and I think back to what I was doing my senior year, it just, I can't imagine doing and accomplishing some of the things that our kids are accomplishing through their career tech program. So it's just a little slice of heaven, my heaven of XL Tech. If you have any questions, please let me know. But we're just, I can't explain how we're just booming. We're bursting at the seams. All of our programs are doing well. It's a good time to be in career tech in the state of Ohio, and particularly in Northeast Ohio to XL Tech.
Excellent.
So,
Outstanding.
Very good. Outstanding.
okay.
You all do a wonderful job.
Thank you.
Nate, I just want to tell you that it's always amazing whenever you do a presentation for XL Tech, because it is, I mean, you're right, you're busting at the seams, and it's wonderful to see the new and progressive things that are happening. Looking at what the projections are, of course, with the solar and wind, but then right under it, nurses' aides. And we know we have an aging population in the United States as a whole, and there's going to be more and more need for people with those nursing and medical technical skills. And applaud you and our program for making sure that they're there by the time we all need them.
Absolutely. And I just want to give a shout out here to Vicki Morley, Deanna Elton, and I from Middle East. They took time out of their day to come support Maggie, because Maggie's in the LPM program, as we know.
Well, hearing that Maggie wants to work with dementia, I mean, just warms the cockles of my heart.
We had a great conversation. My dad passed with dementia-related issues, and Maggie and I, when she told me that, we had a great conversation about that in my office. And yeah, she's a good kid.
She will never want for a job, that's for sure.
Yes.
Oh, so on the fastest growing occupations, I don't see anything for construction, like a plumber or electrician or anything. Why?
I better call the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics and find out. I can tell you that Dr. Kelly put me in touch with, and I forget the gentleman's name. He emailed Dr. Kelly and asked, I was in the Carpenters Union for 40-some years, and, I see that schools are going away from these kinds of trades. And so he said, hey, can you reach out to them and talk to them? And so the gentleman shared with me kind of the same thing, Jimmy, that, there's so many jobs in the construction fields that are available, but when we brought him down to our construction trades program, he was just so happy. He was so excited to see what our kids are doing down there, and that, geez, out of our construction trades, on average, I'd say 3 out of 4 end up going into some kind of unit, whether it's carpenters, pipe fitters, plumbers. So at least we're doing our job on XL Tech's end, but in terms of what those numbers, it's like sports stats, I just give you the numbers,
One other question, Nate.
Yeah.
So how does the state keep up with the growing trend, in this state and nationally, to provide workers for these, for solar installers and wind turbine installers? How does that work with the state without going on for another 15 minutes?
The Office of Career Tech works pretty much hand in hand with Ohio's
Okay.
Ohio Beach Jobs.
Okay.
And that's how a lot of the credentials that you see on the list
Right.
come from in-demand jobs and the organization Ohio Meets Jobs. So they kind of are.
How long before you see these coming online?
I haven't heard anything in terms of green energy program or green energy, because again, when the state has to create a pathway and then create courses along that model. So I haven't heard anything along those lines yet.
And I just wanted to second how impressive the kids were that got inducted yesterday, 90 of them. Their resumes are absolutely incredible. I mean, we are good hands with young people. I can tell you that. And the work that you guys do with them are assuring that. So thank you to all of XL Tech, because you're all unbelievable. I see the Schmitz back there, too. You guys are incredible what you do with these kids. It's just amazing. It's just amazing. You can expect them to do anything, and they'll do it. It's just incredible. Yep.
It filters down from the staff down to the kids, just adaptable and flexible, and we just get it done.
Yep. Thank you.
Again, thank you to the board members for allowing me to present.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that moves us to our community communications section. This is an opportunity for community members to come and speak before the board on issues of importance to them that they wish to inform us about.
Thanks for coming.
It is an informational session versus interactive. There was nobody who called us ahead of time. Is there anyone present who wanted to speak to an agenda item? There being none, we will move on to President's announcements. Nate, thank you very much. You took care of most of mine. Appreciate it. A couple of others to add into all of the Excel Tech events that are coming up is also the Spring Choir Concert on May 7th and the Spring Band Concert on May 8th. Just after our next board meeting is the CVEC graduation, literally the day after. So just make sure that's on your calendars. I think that's about it for me. Board member committee reports
Nothing tonight.
and superintendent's announcements.
Yeah, I was going to mention National Technical Honor Society, but we've talked about that. But just a really commendation for Shrek. That if you didn't see Shrek, you missed something. How many of you saw it? Absolutely phenomenal.
Yep.
Probably one of the best casts I've seen since being here. Just an incredible cast. A lot of talent. And the art show was also spectacular, as it always is this year. So great job all the way around on the arts and what we're presenting out there. So terrific.
All right, that brings us to the superintendent's consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Moment. And Mr. Hughes seconded. And
Roll call.
Mr. Finaro.
Yes.
Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Teresi.
Yes.
That moves us to other superintendent business.
If I may,
No?
Mrs. Grosek,
Sure.
I just wanted to point one
Oh,
thing
yes,
out.
I'm sorry.
Shannon Zajac is here. Shannon, where are you? There you are, right there. So Shannon's going to be, she came tonight, which is really cool that you did that, very classy. You came tonight, you just approved her to be a math teacher, the seventh grade at the middle school. You probably know the Zajac family very well. But Shannon, I'm going to date myself here, but Shannon, this is really getting strange because Shannon was one of the first students on my student advisory committee. And as you know, they stay with me until they come in sixth grade and they stay with me till they graduate. And Shannon's making me feel really old right now. So, but we hired you anyway. But congratulations to you. You're going to love it over there. You're going to love it.
I will say, as I drove in this evening, I noticed that there was a welcome home sign for you.
And
Yeah.
she taught at Maple for a year.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll go back a few years.
Yeah.
I'll go back a few years too. I remember Shannon from Millridge when she was in elementary school. So, along with her brother Bob. So,
And I just heard you were at Maple for a year as well. And what, in the middle school, or?
Yes, sixth grade math.
So I missed you because I actually sub in Maple.
Oh, you do?
All the elementary buildings.
Milk at the chapter?
Not so much anymore. So I must have missed you in my interlude.
Do we want to talk about this now? Or?
Sure. Hey, you're the one that brought it up. Just say it. You're the one who told me.
Congratulations.
Okay, fine. Next, we'll move on to the other superintendent's business and the graduating class of 2019.
So moved. Second.
This is the real roll call. Roll call?
Mr. Finaro.
Yes.
Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
yes.
Mr. Teresi.
Yes.
And I think there is, 293? Is that, how many graduates we have? 92. Okay. I was counting fast. That's all right. And then now I was going from memory. Pretty nice. Oops. And I'm sorry, but I just switched the wrong thing. Okay. Next, we have the Ohio High School Athletic Association resolution for
So moved.
2019-20.
So moved.
Roll call?
Mr. Fenaro.
Yes.
Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Tressi.
Yes.
And moving on to the treasurer's report, the financial statements for March 31st.
So moved.
Second.
Bear with me 1 second. So that's Mr. Hughes motioned, and Mr. Hess, I need to move this for a second. With the second, thank you.
Roll call?
Mr. Fenaro.
Yes.
Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Tressi.
Yes.
And financial transactions.
So moved.
Second.
And the second was by?
Hess.
Mr. Hess, thank you.
Roll call?
Mr. Fenaro.
Yes.
Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Tressi.
Yes.
And my favorite, donations.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Hughes. And Mr. Tressi.
Yes.
Thank you.
And roll call?
Mr. Fenaro.
Yes.
Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
And Mr. Tressi.
Yes.
Moving to treasurer's business, we have the minutes of the regular board meeting of March 20th, 2019, and the special board meeting of April 17th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Tressi. Mr. Fenaro.
Roll call?
Mr. Fenaro.
Yes.
Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
And Mr. Tressi.
Yes.
Next, we have the transfer of excess funds from the bond retirement fund to specific permanent improvement fund.
So moved.
Second.
Did you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I would, Ms. Grosek. This is funds that remain from the borrowing related to the science edition onto the high school back in 1998. We exhausted and paid off the debt. However, the county auditor collected some surplus funds that we would like to move into a capital improvements fund to pay for the entrepreneurial space renovations. So I think it's kind of interesting that those dollars that remain, we're going to put right back into that high school and another area, but it's a testament to the continuous improvement and the work that a lot of the leadership here at this table. So we need your approval to do this.
Perfect. Roll call?
Mr. Fenaro.
Yes.
Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Tressi.
Yes.
And the provider appointment for schools transportation driver physicals.
So moved. Second.
Roll call?
If I might add just quickly, this is utilizing our Wildcat Health and Wellness Center. It's our partnership with Cleveland Clinic, and it's a really nice opportunity to utilize that space for something that we're required to do annually. And it also gives access to our drivers who are learning that health and wellness center is there also for other needs, strep throat, things like that. So
Okay, roll call.
flu shots as well,
Flu shots,
yes.
yes.
Mr. Fenaro.
Yes.
Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Tressi.
Yes.
And great holiday recipes.
Yes.
Yes, so Shannon, we've got an on-site health and wellness center as well. So I'm just trying to get into the conversation. I remember when she played basketball. She knows my youngest daughter. She's like part of the family.
She was pretty good.
Yeah. Say it
yeah,
lightly.
Oh, man. Sedgwick Claims Management Services, Inc. for workers' compensation claims, administration, and management care services.
So moved.
Second.
This is a continuation of a carrier that we've been using for our workers' compensation claims. So not new.
Roll call?
Mr. Fenaro.
Yes.
Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Tressi.
Yes.
Next is the Educational Service Center of Cuyahoga County Services for 2019 through 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Fenaro.
Yes.
Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Tressi.
Yes.
And the Auditor of State Local Government Services.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Fenaro.
Yes.
Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Tressi.
Yes.
And last in this section is the addendum of the 2019-20 health insurance rates.
So moved.
Second.
simply like to footnote quickly that the rates are in line with our projections. We're always cognizant of watching those. We're self-funded, and the medical is a 6% increase. Same with the vision. The dental is a flat, is no increase, and our life insurance premium actually has been reduced. So kudos to the Health Insurance Committee for all the work that they do.
Indeed. Roll call?
Mr. Finaro.
Yes.
Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Teresi.
Yes.
Under other board business, we have a new member of the CVEC family, Wycliffe City Schools.
So moved.
Second?
So Mr. Hughes and second by Mr. Hess, is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
And how exciting that we are enlarging still further. Roll call?
Mr. Finaro.
Yes.
Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Teresi.
Yes.
Next, we move into a resolution to support Ohio House Bill 154.
So moved.
Second.
Might add that that is a bill that is looking at the transparency and accountability for public schools under academic stress. Roll call?
Mr. Finaro.
Yes.
Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Teresi.
Yes.
I also have a resolution in support of time to teach and a time to learn and end the overuse and misuse of standardized testing.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Finaro.
Yes.
Ms. Grosek.
Absolutely.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Teresi.
Yes.
And that brings us to Scott's favorite section, motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second?
The second was by Mr. Finaro, is that correct? Mr. Hess, sorry.
Roll call?
Mr. Finaro.
Yes.
Ms. Grosek.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yeah.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
And Mr. Teresi.
Yes.
That's a wrap.